With the Photographer by Stephen Leacock. A summary. The narrator recounts a frustrating and absurd experience with a photographer while attempting to have his portrait taken. The story begins with the narrator entering a photography studio and encountering a photographer who instructs him to wait. After an hour of flipping through outdated magazines, the narrator is finally called into the studio, where the photographer begins to scrutinize the narrator's face. As the session progresses, the photographer criticizes various aspects of the narrator's appearance, suggesting that the face would look better from a three-quarters angle, and proceeds to manipulate the narrator's head and facial features into what he believes is a more acceptable form. The photographer's approach becomes increasingly intrusive and absurd as he instructs the narrator to contort their face and body into unnatural positions, all the while expressing dissatisfaction with the narrator's natural appearance. Despite the narrator's growing discomfort and emotional attachment to his own appearance, the photographer is relentless in his attempts to improve the face, even suggesting methods to alter the eyebrows, mouth, and ears through retouching techniques. The narrator, growing more frustrated, protests that the face being manipulated is his, not the photographer's, and he has lived with it for 40 years. The photographer, however, dismisses these concerns and proceeds to take the photograph without further consultation. When the narrator returns to view the photograph, he is confronted with an image that has been heavily altered and bears little resemblance to his true self. The photographer proudly points out the adjustments he has made, including removing and redrawing the eyebrows, adjusting the mouth, and even suggesting a process to remove the ears. The narrator, dismayed and bitter, expresses his disappointment in the photograph, which no longer represents who he is. In a moment of emotional outburst, the narrator declares that he came for a portrait that would depict his true face as it is, not an artificially enhanced version. He wanted a keepsake for his friends to remember them by, but instead, he received a distorted image that felt like a betrayal of his identity. Overcome with emotion, the narrator leaves the studio in tears, feeling that the photograph is a worthless and hollow representation of him.